Tonight, Nancy Pelosi put her charming bill up for a vote in the House of Representatives. And, how many people supported the bill? I've seen more people in line for McDonald's at the drive-thru yesterday than how many people showed up for her bill. Uh, there was not 800 people that voted for her bill. There was not 80 people that voted for her bill. There was no Blue Dogs. There's no New Democrat coalitions. There's certainly no Republicans. How many people showed up for Nancy Pelosi's caucus, her wonderful caucus that's realigned or aligned or, maligned or whatever the verb is that she uses that day? 8. Can't. 8 people voted for her darn stupid bill tonight. I think she was over embellishing her popularity among her caucus. So one viewer kindly asked me tonight, who are the 8? I said, well, 7 dragons and 1 bat, I quickly asked Sirloin for his opinion of the situation. He was at the casino, so I called him because I was busy with this, apparently. And I said, Sirloin, what did you hear about the 8 that voted for her bill? He said, that's ridiculous. That's not even heard. It's unheard of. Needless to say, the Purple Power won. I mean, as one viewer said in one of the comments today, she mentioned you. And I said, is this a joke? Needless to say, she might have because only 8 people were interested to hear anything she had to say today. And this is Evenings LALATE. Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Evenings LALATE, in a night in which fact predominated, fact ruled, conjecture went by the wayside, and puffery, falsehoods, and fakeness went front and center and was eaten up alive. This is a night in which Americans really saw what the truth was, that no one wanted a bloated bill that was much of nothing but a bailout of government officials, not a stimulus check, but a budget bill that gave government officials fortunes in new raises and new salaries, giving Americans very much of nothing. And after several weeks of the Purple Power pushing Republicans and Democrats, telling them, don't vote for her bad bill, don't vote for her bad bill, you won. You absolutely categorically won. Out of all the massive number of House of Representatives that are Democrats, Nancy Pelosi had a mere 8 show up for her. Final vote. 8 showed up and said yes. 1 said no, and the rest refused to even vote for her darn bill. Purple Power won. We finally won. I have been telling you over the last 48 hours, I hope that we get a vote that indicates where our efforts landed. I hope that congressional leaders do not show up to vote for her bill. I hope that there's a dissenter, and I hope that she finally gets the message. She did not have a caucus. She did not have supporters. She had her one-woman show. And tonight, that's all that she basically had. Shortly after the vote, one of the news channels, a smaller operation, broadcast news channels, reached out to one congressman, Elisa Slotkin, and she said it was fine as a negotiating tactic, but it doesn't put food on people's tables until we have something that's bipartisan. Absolutely one of the best set of words that I've heard of the entire week. It doesn't do anything until it's bipartisan. And that's the spirit of the American way. Tonight in this broadcast, I'm going to be going over where we are as we sit here tonight, while all focuses still remain as they were last Friday with this channel, last Thursday. Tonight is much of no surprise to the viewers of this channel. We knew this was going to happen. We knew this was going to be a circus show. We remain focused on where we are, and that's where we're going forward this evening. We're focusing on executive orders, and in tonight's broadcast, we're going to focus on everything that you have going forward, all the monies, all the plans, all the plots to go forward, and why tonight was much of a circus show that we all sort of predicted to happen. Go to the channel, subscribe, because tonight you absolutely deserved it. Best community ever. Fastest growing community ever, most powerful community ever, and tonight the community that made Nancy Pelosi a little bit pissed. She deserves it, don't you think? And also like this video, because this is tonight for you to really celebrate for your achievement. Let's get to the incredible breaking news. The breaking news is that H.R. 925, a bill which was basically a revision of the prior bill, came for a vote, and it got 8 nays, 8 votes of yay, yes, 1 vote of nay among these Democrats, and then Republicans showed up, 15 said no. Passed. The net result was that Nancy Pelosi got basically what she wanted, a sideshow, but she also got a slap in the face. A slap in the face that Republicans and Democrats don't want to have anything to do with this. This was a bad bill to start. A bloated bill that gave fortunes of raises to government officials across the board. Most of the money in this bill does not categorize as stimulus. It's just not stimulus. It was put in a bill that simply is not a stimulus bill. It gave raises to the Department of Treasury, raises to the Department of Justice, raises to the Department of Copyrights. Of course, those are all COVID frontline workers. Don't you realize? No, of course not. Raises to the Department of Parks and Rec. I mean, it's just like, what are we doing here? National parks. Bambi does not need a raise. He's perfectly fine by himself. But it gave very little to the American people. In fact, you were owed multiple checks. Senator Harris and Senator Sanders wanted you to have multiple checks, $2,000 every month for 6 months until the pandemic goes down. It was, of course, a Senate bill, but ultimately during these negotiations, she rejected it. Nancy Pelosi rejected it. Problem solvers wanted to have you have multiple bills. She rejected their offer, multiple bills. The White House wanted you to have multiple stimulus checks. She rejected it. In fact, she also rejected your offer to have $10,000 of hazard pay, originally in the bill, put in there by other people in her caucus. On Monday, she took out your $10,000, took out your $5,000, took out your $1,200 multiple stimulus checks. She kept on taking things out for you and putting things back in for government. And she thought that no one would notice it. Yeah, until the finance guy came along with the blue shirt and Hardy tank top. Yeah, it only worked so far, had it? And tonight, it didn't work. So as we go forward, I don't want you to focus any more on her because her sideshow is done. As Mitch McConnell says, we've seen enough stunts, enough publicity stunts for her to last a lifetime this year. And we really have. So as we go forward, let's clear our brains. I don't want to go into a chant. I think I sort of need some chant and some soft music and some earth and some water crashing behind me. But let me focus on where we're going. The focus is still back on 2 cores. 1, the White House. And 2, potentially the problem solvers. I don't know to what extent the problem solvers will be a path for us going forward, because the problem solvers had the opportunity to put this to a vote on the Senate floor and did not, and just sort of sat back and sort of pushed against Nancy. Ultimately, we'll continue to tweet the problem solvers. We'll continue to push for the problem solvers bill to be introduced to the floor. And ultimately, these people can fly back to Washington, both in the Senate and the House, to get a bill passed. They did it for the post office. They can do it for us. But we're not going to focus so much legislatively going forward on stimulus. We're going to focus on the executive orders, and that is where we were 2 weeks ago. Remember 2 weeks ago we said, legislatively, I just don't see this happening. I just don't think it's happening. And we said it then, and then certainly it percolated in the legislative for a while, and then we're like, oh, maybe, but then it came to where it is tonight. The focus is on executive. The president can do it. The president shall do it. The president should do it. The president has the money to do it. The president has the authority to do it. And it's very exciting because the breaking news tonight is that the president is talking about executive orders. Oh, yeah. The president and his press secretary said, we've had enough, and it's time to start doing executive orders. And the first one that apparently is in the wings is the one for the airlines. Viewers have been asking me, what happened to that deadline? What happened to that deadline of October 1st? Well, again, Nancy Pelosi didn't care. It's sort of a returning theme for her. She didn't care. The airline said, why don't you do us as a standalone bill? She said, oh, no, we're not doing you as a standalone bill. We're not piecemealing anything. Well, guess what happened today? Tens of thousands of airline employees were laid off across the country. They were given pink slips. They were told they have no medical insurance, and they're told they have no pension and things like that going forward. They were laid off because, So that deadline did come up, and it hit. And exactly what we said was going to happen happened. Now, the next thing that could potentially happen for the airlines is they start cutting routes, so you won't be able to travel from a respective city to another city. The good news is that maybe Nancy Pelosi won't be able to get back to California. Just close the borders, so we just don't want her here. But yeah, you won't be able to fly the way you may have been able to fly. But this is what the airlines and the White House are saying tonight, and this is incredible, great news for you. The White House is saying tonight, we're just done with this. We're going to start taking care of things ourselves. This is the press secretary to Donald Trump. And so she said, we're going to start with an executive order for the airlines. Now, the path to get the airlines done does not reduce your funds. And I want to make this very clear, because you may say, oh my God, there's going to be no money left for us. No, airlines are only about $25 billion, and there's about $500 billion sitting around, so that they don't eat up your stimulus check. There's enough for your stimulus check. There's enough money for your FPUC. This is incredibly great news. The great news is the focus. We need the White House to focus on us. And I understand there's been a lot of distractions. There was that debate. There was the Supreme Court, and they've had a lot of distractions the last couple of days. Today, the focus was all back on us. We need to continue the focus. And that's where we're going to continue the pressure with the purple power, focusing on really getting this White House to do executive orders for stimulus checks, for FPUC, for rent, for hazard pay. But the first two focuses are stimulus checks and FPUC. I'm going to go over those details shortly. Moreover, before I get to them, let me finish up with what I'm going to have to say about the airlines, which is the airlines have now said, though, that if they get that executive order by the president, that they will rehire those people that have been laid off. So if you are an airline employee tonight and watch this video and you got laid off, understand the airlines are saying they will bring you back if that executive order comes in. So that's incredible, great news. All right, so let's focus on the executive order. So the White House has said $1,200 checks. The White House has said dependent checks. The White House has said the number of people in the household. These are all facts, facts, facts. So will the president stay with those numbers? Most likely will. Those numbers match the Problem Solvers bill, which is $1,200 for independent individual, $2,400 for a married couple, and then $500 for dependents, whether minor dependents or adult dependents. Yes, the $1,200 dependent thing doesn't seem to be happening. It's just everyone's sort of rolling over and not doing that anymore. And we can continue to push for it, but I got to tell you that the White House, even the Democrats, were not pushing for that $1,200 dependent anymore. But $1,200, dependents $500, and then how many people in the household? Well, let's see if I can do the math really fast on camera. $3,400. I think if I recall, $3,400 or $3,900. I can't remember what the president said, because he said $1,200, and then $500. So that's $2,400 plus $1,000. That's $3,400. He may have said $3,900. I can't remember. So maybe he went up to a family of 5. If not a family of 4. I think it may have been a family of 5. So that's really great news. It's either $3,500 or $3,900 the president will send you if you're a family of 5. So if you're a single mom with 4 kids, or a husband and wife with 3 kids. That's what that means. We're counting the number of people. The president would likely not take it out for child support. Nothing has been taken out for child support in this entire discussion since July. Would not be taken out for collections, would not be taken out for back taxes that are unpaid. So all very, very good news. So that is very, very clear. The next thing is FPUC. How would the president do this for FPUC? I did this on the video earlier today, but let me go over it. It would basically be 2 versions. It would either be a continuation of LWA or it would be a new bill. I think it's a continuation of LWA. It would basically say, this is how he's done things, and so I expect him to do much the same. This is opinion. I'm telling you now opinion. I'm not telling you fact, and I'm not telling you source. But my opinion is the president would likely just default to us waking up one morning and an agency says, "Hi, here I am. I have some money that's been repurposed to me. So come, states, and apply for some LWA." And the states will be like, who is this? Oh, FEMA, you have some money? Okay, why does FEMA have money? And it'll be just much like last time. It's like, why does CDC have our money? Oh, they have our money. Okay, so we'll go apply for some money. And then the state will get the money, then they'll send it out to you. Will it be retroactive? It'll likely be retroactive. And again, this is opinion. States have always done things retroactively. They've always done it based upon weeks. It's hard for them to keep track of when they're giving you money if they don't say it's for this week or that week or this week. And they generally all agree that it's from a date. Remember when LWA first hit, we weren't clear if LWA was retroactive. Now we're clear that it really did start from a particular date and then went forward. That is LWA, that's FPUC, and that is stimulus checks. Routing times. How fast would you get the money? Routing times are very promising, incredibly promising. You know, we've been lied to by a lot of people, but we have to believe that Steve Mnuchin knows his routing times. So he's always told us that it's 11, and we've had independent third parties that have told us this as well, fact, that it's 10 days after something becomes law. So the president literally writes the executive order today. You could see the funds in your account 10 business days thereafter by electronic means if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, or if you have any sort of electronic payment set up with the IRS for your taxes or for your refunds. If you don't, then you would add an additional week for paper checks. For enhanced unemployment benefits, it's really hard to say, and it's just all over the place. There was a news article I was going to bring on set, and I forgot to bring it on set. The caucus may have eaten it. It talked about how some states are now suddenly getting up to date and paying some benefits they had not paid for weeks ahead in the past. So yeah, some states are very, very, very slow. I mean, that was the purpose of this channel. On April 25th, states were paying unemployment benefits, hence I came on the scene. So they are very, very slow on benefits. Next, and this seems to be sort of obvious to me, but it's not obvious to others. Go get an EIDL loan. If you're an independent contractor, sole practitioner, or a business owner, who are the people that qualify for an EIDL loan? Anyone that has a Schedule C on their tax return. Anyone that has a Schedule C. Anyone that has a corporation or an LLC, anyone that has any business operations, go get an EIDL loan today. It's sba.gov. Go get it. Because the reason why is there is no principal and no interest due for 12 months. And I got to tell you, if you're sitting back and saying, well, I qualify, but I just want free money, I just want grants, don't do that. Don't do that. Go get the loan. Because ultimately, if you don't need the money, you can always return it. There's no early repayment penalty. The loan is based upon your gross revenue, 2019 minus cost of goods sold, divided by 2. And so if you're an Uber or Lyft driver and you made $8,000 last year, go get an EIDL loan. How much would you get? Well, if you made $8,000 last year and didn't cost you anything to work to do the Uber and Lyft, then 8,000 minus 0 divided by 2 is $4,000. You would have $4,000 in your bank account within 24 hours. You don't want that? Of course you do want that. Go get it, sba.gov. And if you have questions about how to do an EIDL loan, go to the sticky comment of this video. Next, someone asked me, someone said in the comment, so I guess you won't be doing hazard pay videos anymore. No, of course not. Hazard pay exists on a state level and exists on a private level. There's grants everywhere, every left edge of every corner. Remember, for over 2 weeks, I did videos about the world exclusive debuted on this channel, the scandal that there's over $150 billion in CARES Act 1 money that states are just starting to disperse out to their citizens. And I'll briefly just say it again tonight, is that go to Google News, not Google Pages, but Google News, and type in your city plus grant plus CARES Act or something like that. Your county plus grant plus CARES Act or something like that. And see any news articles in the last few days. If there's nothing come back in a day or two. Because cities and states have all this money they have not spent. In the city of Honolulu, for example, they've only spent 10% of all the hundreds of millions of dollars they were given. They're now rushing to spend because it's use or lose. That's the rule. If they don't use the money, it's returned. So they're announcing grants for rent, announcing grants for stimulus, announcing grants for hazard pay, announcing grants for food. Go get it. I've had viewers do it, and they thanked me a lot for it. Finally, everything else that's out there. There's a lot of economic factors. And what we're going to see over the next couple of days is sometimes the economic factors don't align with the situation of stimulus. And I know that sounds really confusing, but let me explain where it is. CNBC's Jim Cramer minutes ago. The stock market already has made up its mind about stimulus. It doesn't matter. I can understand why so many Republican senators are reluctant to spend a fortune on another huge stimulus package. The averages suggest the economy is moving in the right direction. As far as the stock market's concerned, we don't need no stinking stimulus. Now, Jim Cramer on this morning's news, he owns several restaurants, which he wants to remind you every 10 seconds that he's on air. He said his restaurants are basically going to shutter their doors because they've not gotten another round of PPP money. Of course, you can go get the EIDL, Jim. I don't know if he did or didn't. But he's basically saying that the lack of stimulus is not needed by certain parts of the economy, but other parts are. And certainly the question is whether or not stimulus will remain front page. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I should have said this in the beginning of the video. I'm not going anywhere. The subject matters of this channel are not changing anytime soon because the subject matter is not over. This debate is not over. The situation's not over. So coming up after this is Purple Power. Go to the front of the channel, subscribe. Also like this video. It's a long path. And the good news is that we saw what was going to happen tonight. We're not surprised by it. There's a lot turning and there's a lot churning. And it's not butter, it's not sirloin. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay valet for more.